So we're continuing on Samech Beis Amud Beis, and we are picking up in the wide lines 2, 4, 6 lines in at the 2 dots. Vayakam David vayichros es knaf mila shel shol balat. So David went ahead and he cut off part. Remember again, is going back to the story of where David HaMelech is hiding in the cave, and Shaul comes to relieve himself, and David HaMelech cuts off a corner of his garment. So it says he cut off his corner, quietly. So Amar Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina kol mevazes avagodim sopin oneina mehem. Whoever goes ahead and acts in a disrespectful manner to clothing, so it's referring to David HaMelech, that he cut the clothing, he was acting in a disrespectful manner, ultimately will not get hano from it. Shneimar v'Hamelech David Zakin ba bayamim v'achaseh begadim v'lo yicham lo. So the pasuk talks about, it's actually this past week's Haftarah in Parshas Chayei Sarah. David HaMelech got old, and as much as they covered him with clothing, he was unable to remain warm. So the Gemara understands this as almost like a result of David HaMelech, quote unquote, mistreating or not treating clothing with proper respect by cutting off the corner of Shaul's garment. So again, the Gemara now goes on. The Gemara now continues by quoting another pasuk, again from Shmuel. So remember again, this is once again David HaMelech, after a different encounter with Shaul, says to Shaul, this is David talking to Shaul, that literally again, if Hashem has made you angry with me, then please accept this gift. Please accept this gift. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu David. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to David HaMelech, Mesis Karisli, you're calling me someone who instigates? In other words, the way David was framing this is he said to Shaul that Hashem is instigating you against me. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kiviyachol is offended. You're calling me an instigator, I'm not an instigator. Hari ani machshilcha bedavar shafilu tinoko shabes rabin yodin oso. D'chsiv ki sisa sorosh b'nei Yisrael of kudehem and asnu ish kofer nafsho. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset at David HaMelech. And he says, David HaMelech, you think that you understand me so well. You think that you could say that people are inciting God against me. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, David, I'm going to make you make a mistake in a simple area of halacha that everyone knows. What does everyone know? That you don't count Jews. But instead, when you want to take a census, what do? You go ahead and you collect coins, right? You collect the shekel, a shekel. But yet, David HaMelech, what happens? Uksiv, the pasuk says, Vayases as David Bahem Lemor, Lech Menei Es Yisrael. But yet, David HaMelech went ahead and he actually conducted a count of Klal Yisrael. V'chevan d'manenu, lo shakal minay kover, vayiten Hashem dever b'Yisrael me'aboker ad eis moed. And because David HaMelech ultimately, again, didn't count the Jews instead of counting money, so remember again, the pasuk in Parshas Kisisa says that if chas v'shalom you count people, the ayin hara is able to take effect against them, and a plague broke out against Klal Yisrael. Now the truth is, this is a much bigger discussion about the notion of not counting Jews. This idea that the Gemara highlights that Eina bracha sharoi, that blessing only devolves upon something that is some in ayin, that is not counted and hidden from the eye. The idea is that when you count something, you give it explicit definition. Where there is explicit definition, there's less room for miraculous intervention. So it's almost as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, we don't count Klal Yisrael. Okay, we'll count half shekel coins, but we're not going to count Klal Yisrael, because this way, if we don't count them, it leaves the door open for miraculous intervention on the part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So and therefore again, when David HaMelech counted them without coins, this unfortunately opened us up to divine wrath. The Gemara says, "My esmoid." What does it mean that dever, that this pestilence came upon, or this plague came upon Klal Yisrael at an appointed time? So again, the first thing it says that literally this plague lasted against Klal Yisrael from the time of the morning tamid until the zrika, until the throwing of the blood. The shechita to the zrika. Rabbi Yochanan says ad chatzos mamish. No, that it went ahead and it lasted literally until chatzos. So remember again, then as the malach is bringing about this destruction, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the malach, stop. At a certain point, it says to the malach, stop. Amar Belazar, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu lemalach tol li rav shebahem sheyesh li lepara mehem kama chovos. So literally HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the malach hamavis go ahead and take the life of the greatest one, because I have the need to exact much atonement from him. So the Gemara says, "Ba'osa shames Avishai ben Tzruya sheshachar Chaburah shel Sanhedrin." So in that very moment, Avishai ben Tzruya died, who was equivalent to many members of the Sanhedrin. So the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the life of one to atone for many. Uba'ashchis ra Hashem ba'inochem. And again, during all of this destruction, Hashem saw and he changed his mind. My Ra'ah, what did he see? Ra'ah Yaakov Avinu t'chsiv, vayomer Yaakov kasher ra'am. So he saw Yaakov Avinu. So in other words, what does it mean? He saw Yaakov Avinu. It was the merit, the schos of Yaakov Avinu that caused HaKadosh Baruch Hu to stop all of the destruction. Shmuel says, no. Afro shal Yitzchak ra shene'emar Elokim yira lo haseh. He saw literally again the ashes of Yitzchak. Now it's interesting, by the way, the ashes of Yitzchak is a reference, of course, to Akedas Yitzchak. Now it's interesting that it calls it the ashes of Yitzchak, being that Yitzchak, of course, wasn't killed, right? But yet, again, Lamai says called ashes of Yitzchak to correspond to Akedas Yitzchak. It was the merit of Akedas Yitzchak that stopped the destruction. Yitzchak nafcha amar kesef kipurim ra'a shneimar v'lakachtas kesef kipurim me'ez b'nei Yisrael. So beautiful. So beautiful that he saw the Kesef Kippurim. The Kesef Kippurim refers to the first Machzah Shekel, the first collection done that was both for census as well as for building the Mishkan at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. That counted as a schus for Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan says, Beis HaMikdash Ra, Noach HaShbarach Hu saw the Beis HaMikdash, and it was that schus that stopped the destruction. Dechsev, Bahar Hashem Yira'eh. Pligi bar Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani. Chad Amar Kesef Kippurim Ra, V'chad Amar Beis HaMikdash Ra. So again, this is the same machlokes. So as we saw before, what did the shaila is David HaMelech counted Klal Yisrael instead of counting coins. As a result, there was a plague that was unleashed upon Klal Yisrael. It was going to bring about massive destruction. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw something. He saw something that prevented the destruction from occurring. So what did he see? One opinion, Beis HaMikdash. One opinion, he saw the original half shekel collection. Other opinion, he saw the Beis HaMikdash. It makes more sense that it was Beis HaMikdash. Shnei Emar, because the pasuk says, Asher ye'amer hayom bahar Hashem yira'eh. Okay, since it says Chash Baruch Hu will see future, a reference to the idea that when Chash Baruch Hu sees the Beis HaMikdash, he stopped the plague from continuing. Okay, incredible. So the Gemara now quotes in the Mishnah. So remember again that the Mishnah said that a person, about how you enter into the Beis HaMikdash, shouldn't enter in with your staff or with your money belt or with your shoes. And then the Mishnah goes on to say that you should not go ahead and make the Harabayis a kapandaria or a kapandria. So the Gemara says, my kapandria. So what does that mean, a kapandria? Amarava, kapandria kishma. A kishpandria is exactly what it says, namely a shortcut. A shortcut. Okay, so the Gemara says, so in other words, you can't use the harabayis as a shortcut to get somewhere else. Rav Chana bar Ada, Mishpein Rav Sama Breid Rav Mari Amar, so Kiman da Amar Inish, Ademakifna Adari Eyul Baha. So like people say, Ademekafna Adare. So instead of going around, I'll go through. So kapandria is a contraction between that phrase adekmakifna adairi. So instead of going around, I'll go through. So kapandria means a shortcut. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Baravua. Hanichnas beis hakneses amanashal lasos kapandria mutar lasos kapandria. This is interesting halacha. So in the same way that you can't make the harabayis a shortcut, you also can't use a shul as a shortcut. But yet, interestingly enough, the Gemara quotes this idea over here. Rav Nachman says that if you walk into the shul without the intention of making it a shortcut, in other words, you go in for whatever purpose, once you're already in there, you could use it as a shortcut. And this is interesting. Another exception to this is if, let's say, there was a pathway and the shul was built on a pathway and that pathway was used as a shortcut to begin with, you could continue to use the shortcut even after the shul was built there. Similarly, again, if you went into shul to daven, otherwise you went to shul for a permitted purpose, once you're there, you could use it as a shortcut. Okay. Urikika mikal v'chomer. So again, so first of all, that is important halacha. Same way that you can't use the harabayis as a shortcut, you also cannot use a shul as a shortcut. Next halacha. Urikika mikal v'chomer. You also can't spit, right? You can't spit on the harabayis based on the kal v'chomer. Amar Rav Bibi, Amar Rav Yosef ben Levi. Chal rokik b'harabayis bizman hazeh, kilu rokik bebas eno. So literally, again, whoever goes ahead and spits on the harabayis today, it's as if chas v'shalom he spits in the eye of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar v'haya einai v'libi sham kol yom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, first of all, so beautiful. My eyes and my heart will be there all throughout all time. Which is, by the way, just such a beautiful idea to teach us that even though the Beis Hamikdash does not yet stand on the harabayis, the Shechina itself, of course, is there. Amar Rava says, Rikika Beis HaKnesses, Shar Yamidi Dahavi Aminol. So it's interesting, halacha Rava says, you're allowed to spit inside of a shul, because it's no different than wearing a shoe. Ma Minol B'harabayis Asr Beis HaKnesses Mutter, Ar Rikika B'harabayis the Asr Beis HaKnesses Shari. Because again, just like wearing a shoe on harabayis is asr, but yet in a shul, it's permitted, you can wear your shoes. So to on harabayis, that spitting is asr in a shul, it will be permitted. So the Gemara says, really? Amar li Rav Papa l'Rava, v'amar li Ravina l'Rava, v'amar li Rav Ada bar Hava, amar li Rav Ada bar Masna l'Rava, adi alaf meminol ninal nelaf mikapandria. So instead of going ahead and learning out the halacha of spitting from shoes, learn out the halacha of spitting from shortcuts, and say the same way that you can't take a shortcut on harabayis, you also can't take a shortcut in a shul, and therefore the same way that you can't spit on harabayis, you also can't spit in a shul. Amrlei tana yolef miminal vat amit mikapandria. But again, so Rava said, interesting enough, Rava said back, but I don't understand. What are you talking about? In other words, we already just said that the Tana learns out the halachos of spitting from the halachos of shoes. So why are you suggesting to learn it out from the halachos of a shortcut? So Mahi. So now the Gemara says, well, why is it? In other words, why is there a greater linkage between spitting and shoes than there is between spitting and shortcuts? Tisanyo, lo yikonis adam laharabayis, lo b'machlo shaviyadav, lo b'manol shabaraglo, v'lo b'maos hatzurin lo b'sadino, or b'pundosam uvshalas lachorav. So the halacha is, you can't enter into the harabayis holding your staff, not with your shoes, not with your money, right? Literally money tied into your cloth, not with your money belt outside of your clothing. Nor should you go ahead and make the harabayis into a shortcut. Or a kika mikal v'chomer minol, and the Brisa says over here explicitly, and we learn out spitting from a kal v'chomer from shoes, meaning what? Uma minal she'ein bo derech bizayon amra Torah shalna alecha me'araglecha. So interestingly enough, now shoes, there's nothing inherently disrespectful about wearing shoes. Right? In other words, wearing shoes is generally considered to be a good thing, and yet on harabayis you're not allowed to do it. Rikika, shederach bizayon, shehi derech bizayon l'kol shekein. So spitting, which is objectively disrespectful, certainly you cannot do that on harabayis. That's the connection. L'kol shekein. Rabbi Yossi Yehuda Omer einot tzarich. Rabbi Yossi Yehuda says the truth is you don't need this kal v'chomer. Why not? Hari Omer ki ein lavo al shara melech b'levush sak. Remember again, this is by Megillas Esther, right? That Esther said to Mordechai, you can't come to the king's palace wearing sackcloth. So interestingly enough, sackcloth, right, which is not something inherently disgusting, yet halacha l'maisa, you can't wear it in front of a human king. So kach rikika shimu usef melech malchei amlachim l'kol shekein. So the interesting, so the Gemara says you don't have to tie anything to do. You don't have to connect spitting with wearing shoes. You could look at it like this: if you don't wear sackcloth, which is not inherently disgusting, in front of a human king, then Allah has kama v'kama, you do not spit, right, which is objectively repulsive in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Beautiful. So Amalei, so Rava said, Ana hachi kamin. This is what I mean to say. Nema hacha l'chumra v'hacha l'chumra. So why don't we just say like this? Why don't we just go ahead and say that halacha l'maisa, the same way that we're machmir and there's no spitting on the harabayis, why don't we say that the same halacha applies to spitting in a shul? Top of, we'll say, Samech Gimel Madav 63a, ve'ema harabayis ta'asr b'minal, lilfa miminal. So we see like this, just like on the harabayis, you can't wear shoes. So let's go ahead and learn out the halacha regarding spitting from shoes. So just like you can't wear shoes, you can't spit. Ava beis haknesses to shar b'minal, adelef miminal, ola heter, neilef mikapanji oliser. But in a shul, where wearing shoes is permitted, so instead of learning out spitting from shoes, why don't we learn out spitting from shortcuts? Then you can't take a shortcut. You can't take a shortcut on the harabayis, you can't take a shortcut in a shul. So we should say you can't spit on harabayis. So so too you can't spit in the shul. So you hear what the Gemara is saying? In other words, you have certain practices which are prohibited on Harabais and prohibited in shuls, and other practices which are prohibited on Harabais and prohibited in shuls. So we're trying to figure out which category does spitting fit into. So the Gemara wanted to suggest that spitting should be like wearing shoes. You can't wear shoes on Harabais, but you can wear shoes in a shul. So you can't spit on Harabais, but you can spit in a shul. The Gemara says, why compare it that way? Why don't instead compare spitting to taking a shortcut? You can't take a shortcut on Harabais, and therefore you can't take a shortcut in a shul. You can't spit on Harabais, you can't spit in a shul. Rava says instead, kibeso. We go ahead and we look, interestingly enough, that we compare the way you function in a shul to the way you function in a home. Ma beso. Akapandria carpet inish, arekiko umina lo carpet inish. So just like, again, interestingly enough, in your home, right, you do not want your home being used as a shortcut, but yet a person is okay with shoes being worn in their home. And certainly, again, spitting, now understand, they had dirt floors. So when you spit, you would just cover it over with dirt, but it was common. Af Beisaknes says, kapandria huda aser rikika uminal shari. So too, again, in a shul, you can't use it as a shortcut, but you are allowed to go ahead and wear shoes, and you are allowed to go ahead and spit. Now, interestingly enough, the halacha is, the Shulchan Aruch actually paskins that you can spit in a shul, but remember, this is also supposing that you can go ahead and rub it into the floor. In other words, so it works much better with a dirt floor, and also very much is a societal halacha. So this is very much societally based. But again, technically speaking, you cannot use a shul for a shortcut. So what it comes out to is like this: you can't go and spit on Harabais, you can't use Harabais as a shortcut, and you can't wear shoes in Harabais. What's mirrored in a shul? You can't use a shul as a shortcut, but the other activities, namely shoes and spitting, you can go ahead and do. Now, what's interesting to note about this is this last piece that the Gemara introduces, which is the comparison between the shul and the home. Almost as much as on one hand we're comparing the shul to the Beis Hamikdash, on the other hand, really what's happening over here is really comparing the shul to the home. And therefore the practices that you could do at home are like the practices that you can do in the shul. So a shul you wouldn't use as a shortcut, but yet a home you wouldn't use as a shortcut, but yet a home you go out and you wear shoes and you spit on the floor. So too the shul has the same behaviors as well. This fascinating connection, and think about it, the home-shul connection is so beautiful because the home nourishes and nurtures body and soul, and the shul nourishes and nurtures body and soul as well. Much more to be said about that. We'll stop over here for tonight. Shkoyach, everyone.